Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. How can you get your customers to the point of no return? The point of no return is a very cool expression, and it describes, I like to say, the point of where you can't turn back anymore. You're in a position where in time or resources, or you've gone down a certain road after which you really feel like, or you literally cannot turn around. You can't change your mind. You can't make a different choice. You can't make a different decision. Now, if you know me, I don't believe in the expression can't. There's no such thing as can't. My father absolutely positively ingrained into my mind, as well as my sister's. There is no such thing as can't. We can do absolutely anything we can possibly imagine or desire. We just have to be willing to put in the effort, learn what we have to learn, do what we have to do to make that happen. Point of no return comes from World War II, when the pilots would fly missions. Planes, of course, can only hold so much fuel. So they always have to know, a pilot always had to know how far they could go on a mission, how long they could be in the air, how far they could fly before they had to turn around, or they weren't going to make it back to their base. They weren't going to make it back to, nowadays there's aircraft carriers, they'd land back in the ocean. But they would always have to know, what is the point of no return? That I got to turn around or I'm going to die. I'm probably going to die. Because if your plane runs out of fuel, the chances are pretty high that you're going to die. Or the plane's going to crash and you're going to be floating in the ocean or landing on the ground and parachuting out somewhere. But pilots never really want to be in that position, right? If I were a pilot, I wouldn't want to be. And as a business owner and as a human being, I pretty much don't ever want to feel like I'm between a rock and a hard place and I don't have a choice. The secret is we always have a choice. There's always a choice. We just don't always feel that way. A lot of times we feel like we're backed into a corner and we have to go a certain direction. I know I felt that way several times in my life, in relationships and personal relationships. You invest all this time and energy into a person and building a relationship, and then it starts to get bad, and instead of breaking up, you try to salvage it. You try to save a relationship that you've known pretty much all along is destined to fail, but you still put forth all this effort trying to save a sinking ship, right? Sometimes. I've learned that when I start to feel that way, when my intuition or my gut, I listen to my intuition now all the time. I didn't used to. When I got married, I remember getting ready in the little room and putting on my makeup and getting my dress on and coming out of the room, and my husband-to-be, we needed to get pictures before the ceremony, and he looked at me and he's like, "Oh my God, what's wrong?" Because I was literally, he said, "You are literally green." I looked green because everything in me was screaming. All my intuition was screaming, "Stop, you are making a mistake." Now, we already had a son together. I was almost 31 years old, and it was like, I felt like I had to get married. Hey, all my friends and family were at the church. All his friends and family were at the church. Everybody was waiting, and I felt like, looking back, this was a point of no return. I had gotten to the point in the planning and the resources and all of the time and energy that had gone into that, not by just me, but by everybody, because everybody helped me, all my sisters and all my family helped me plan and put this event on. And I actually knew better, but I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be that person that backs out on my wedding here, and how would that look? And so I panicked, and I went through with it because I didn't know that I could make a different decision. I could make a different choice because I felt like I was past the point of no return. And a lot of times in our relationships, we get there and we try to make things work, and we try to salvage things that we know aren't right for us, that don't feel good for us, and we should just let go. Did the same thing in a partnership. Got involved in a partnership, or not just me, but more than one partner, several of us. But one of our partners that we got involved in a business in was really bad. And I don't say bad partnerships lightly. I mean, you have to do really horrendous things for me to say this was a bad experience. This was a bad partnership. And again, my intuition said, no, don't do this. Yep, looks great on paper, sounds good, but it doesn't feel right. And of course, that ended up really, really bad. It ended up in lawsuits and finances and debt and all kinds of just, I can't even describe all the bad things that happened from it because of this other person's behavior. I still am flabbergasted sometimes when I ever am reminded of some of it, because it was like so ludicrous and so ridiculous And I couldn't even have imagined somebody behaving that way, let alone having to experience it. So again, point of no return. Or I like to think of it more as a tipping point, because in our businesses, we don't want our customers to feel desperate that we're their, well, we kind of do. We kind of want them to know that we're their best solution, right? Not that we're their only option, but that we're their best option. We want them to come to us to solve their problems and get out of the feeling of being at a point of no return. But if they feel like they're at a point of no return and they've invested a lot of time and energy building a relationship with us, it's more likely that they will come and do business with us than if we don't have any relationship established with them. But I think with the whole, and I call that more of a tipping point, you give people a ton of value, and it fills up your side of the scale to the point that when they are ready to make a decision, you're the first person that comes to their mind, and that it tips the point, it tips the scale in our favor that they are going to do business with us. So whenever you think that you're in a situation which is a point of no return, I mean projects and things, it seems like the more resources we've invested into something, the more we will try to salvage it, even if we know it's not salvageable. I've seen this in corporate America with big projects and initiatives that instead of really honing in and saying, hey, these are not the results we expected, we need to make a massive direction change, or we need to stop doing this. We shouldn't launch this product. We shouldn't take on this customer. We shouldn't do this thing. And instead we feel like, oh, we've said we would do it, we've committed, now we have to do it no matter what, even if we lose even more resources and a ton of money. But the truth is, you can always stop in your tracks and reevaluate and ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? And then make a different decision, change course, and just deal with the consequences, deal with the fallout. Because the fallout of changing your mind is never as bad as we fear it's going to be, and it's always better than continuing down a road that is the wrong road for you. Would love to know what you think about this expression, or this idiom, point of no return. If you've experienced it, I think most of us have at some time in our life experienced it, and then what happens is 25 years later, after lots of experiences, both good and bad, you end up ending the relationship anyway. At least that's what happened with me in my marriage. It's and some people would say, well, you made that happen because you thought about it when you first got married. And I don't believe that, but I believe that there's people that are awesome people, but they shouldn't be together. And I would say that's the situation with my ex-husband and I. We're really good friends separate, but together, not so much. So go out, make it an awesome day. If I can help you in any way, if you want to share a story about your point of no return experience, I would love to see that in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. What does it mean? Where did it come from? And how might you be able to use it to supersize and grow your business?